During the 90s, Luigi was seen as the underdog of the Mario franchise, always being in his brother's shadow and never really doing much except for showing up on the side. But during the late 90s, even his role was relegated as no more than just a mere cameo, if even that, with Mario 64 seeing him absent, actually, and Paper Mario just having him be there in the background. Not much was happening for the Green Plumber until eventually, during Space World 2000, we saw Luigi's very first debut in a solo title called Luigi's Mansion. Actually, that's not totally true. In 1999, there was another, kind of demo that showed, but that's lost media, so it doesn't really... Yeah, anyways. Surprisingly, Luigi's Mansion had quite a lot planned for it, having 3D capabilities slated to be implemented alongside multiple GameCube games, but sadly it was scrapped because, well, 3D TVs weren't very mainstream, and the cost to make games to be developed with 3D implementations would have meant that all GameCube games would have cost way more for consumers, so Nintendo scrapped the idea entirely for pretty much everything. Just a little footnote, because I know a lot of people were going to point that out if I didn't. But hey, let's focus on the actual game itself, and honestly, I ain't gonna say much in terms of the development. This is Friday the 13th, I hope everyone's okay, but I just kind of want to gush about this game because I fucking love it, a ton. And I've been meaning to talk about it, for forever now. I just sort of thought that I really needed to be interesting on the info on it before I actually made a video on it, but you know what, everyone else has sort of done that, so fuck it, let me just gush over this game for today. Luigi's Mansion does something pretty unique for the time, which was being spooky without being scary. See, games back then were pretty clear in what kind of genre they were. Scary games were scary, platformer games were platformy, and shooter games were shooty. But everyone was breaking new grounds and becoming something nobody had ever seen before, and those who chose to tread those new grounds were often recognized forever as accomplishing something new. Something fresh, something never seen before. And while Luigi may not have started something new in horror, it definitely gave players something that they hadn't experienced before in terms of atmosphere. A game like Resident Evil, for example, is purely horror, as with Silent Hill. They were games meant to scare you and made you feel like you were on the verge of death with every corner. Meanwhile, Luigi's Mansion focused on the atmosphere without ever letting go of the fun vibes that come with the Mario universe. And what's funny is that the best part of Luigi's Mansion that sells this atmosphere isn't the ghosts or the room, but rather something that many horror games struggle with even now, and that's lighting. Lighting is the key factor in setting the mood for literally anything in media, be it movies or games. You have to find the perfect balance between having enough darkness to make the player scared, but not too much where they can't see and handicap them. Enough light shone onto the environments to guide players, but not too much where they never feel like they're in danger. In fact, the lighting is so good that it might have unintentionally made a few scares accidentally. This little glitch has been rumored to be part of the game's integral design for a long time, and that's partly due to the fact that the lighting is just that good that it fooled so many people into believing that it was some sort of symbolism, but in fact it is a glitch. And sorry, that might have been heartbreaking for some of you to learn, but hey, that little accident still in the game, and for a lot of people, it still means what they think it means. Speaking of lighting, Luigi's Mansion cleverly uses the flashlight to help players feel confident in guiding themselves rather than being guided by the game itself through other light sources. It's literally giving players their own waypoint without having to resort to obvious pointers. And of course, when a room is cleared of ghosts or when certain objectives are met, the room is permanently lit up and the spooky vibes are gone, implementing exactly what I said a horror game should implement. Light rooms to show safety, dark rooms to represent danger, flashlights to guide players. It is classic good shit. And you know, Luigi's Mansion development team have never really been open about what inspired Luigi's Mansion, but I think if you're a horror game fan, you can see so many elements of so many horror games just implemented in this game, and I'm using that word a lot, sorry. The flashlight, of course, being super reminiscent of Silent Hill 1, which at the time had some of the best lighting of its era, especially with the use of the flashlight's real-time lighting, which was seen as revolutionary during its release. Light rooms representing safety and the use of music, or in this case, lack thereof, gives Resident Evil vibes with the way they use safe rooms. And of course, doors being locked is such a classic in any horror game. It's clear that Nintendo had tons of inspirations from actual horror games and lifted a ton of their own mechanics from those said inspirations. But that's not to sell Nintendo short. After all, taking inspiration and stealing ideas is integral for progress, and there's a ton of original ideas in this game that those small tributes to horror games in the past are dwarfed by the game's charm and originality, which just oozes right from the get-go, especially with the introduction of EGAD, which has become a fan favorite for so many. And of course, let's not forget that this is Luigi's first ever solo adventure, which has essentially solidified his character forever. A timid adventurer that has to be brave to really get through some of the craziest shit his little Italian eyes have ever seen, just so he could save the world. This is the game that pretty much made Luigi fans have more an excuse to be a Luigi fan. This game made him an icon in his own right. I mean, sure, he's still eclipsed by his own brother's greatness, but this showed a ton of fans that the man has his own life, his own style, and lots of people respect him for that and love Luigi even more because of that personality that he exudes. Personality aside though, lots of people also appreciate the bold new approach in gameplay by Nintendo, as they were doing something totally different than they were never really used to before. Not just in terms of atmosphere, but how the game plays. It plays more like an action puzzle game where you suck up all the ghosts and have to carefully learn their patterns, how they move, and where you should move. It's addicting as each battle turns out to be like their own mini puzzle, and the ghost designs are wonderful. The whole premise of hunting down these ghosts and turning them into paintings is just so charming and cute, and the family of ghosts that live in the mansion and control certain rooms is also just a wonderful touch. Also, was it just me, or are some of these portrait ghosts way scarier than I remembered? Seriously, they're kind of spooky. They kind of remind me of the ghosts from 13 Ghosts, who were also pretty unique in their designs, and oh yeah, it also takes place in a mansion, huh? These portrait ghosts act as either bosses or just mini bosses, some even being optional with unique ways to capture them, and that sort of shit really makes you think, and it just gives them all personalities and sort of this unique experience for everyone as they all collectively try to learn how to get these ghosts. Or they just, you know, they buy Nintendo Power or one of those gaming magazines that pretty much spoil everything, but are often really wrong. Yeah. Remember that? No, whatever. Accompanying the wacky designs of the ghosts themselves is the wonderful soundtrack composed by Shinobu Tanaka and Kazumi Totaka, which is incredible because this was one of Tanaka's first projects at Nintendo, and Totaka was already an established composing veteran, so these two minds really made a unique sound for the game's soundtrack that is pretty iconic to this day. And of course, speaking of the present, we have the sequels, which, you know, I have mixed opinions about, though if you enjoy them, that's totally on you, and you're so valid for loving them. I just prefer the original myself. It's a game I don't mind revisiting now and again. It's got its own unique charm that honestly even most games nowadays struggle to emulate. And by that I of course mean both games that try to be scary and cute, and games that are trying to just be scary. Sometimes these games don't really nail what even Luigi's Mansion was able to nail. And this is coming from a company that doesn't even make horror games. Just goes to show that with enough passion, love, care, really good lighting, and lightning in a bottle, you can pretty much expect nothing short of greatness with that kind of formula. And you might even learn a thing or two. And if you want to hear me gush more about this game and play it live with y'all, then head on over to twitch.tv/CHOCOVANIA. I'll be playing this with my friend Choco, who, if you don't know, made Traumathon 5's wonderful little theme. So please head on over there, chat with us, and have a chill, spooky time with us. Happy Friday the 13th, everyone. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye. Oh, and before I end this video, dude, I was watching Casper the movie the other day, and there's this scene where the ghosts get fucking sucked up by a vacuum. A red vacuum. What? Are you serious, Miyamoto? Dude, that's like frame by frame a direct ripoff. Like really? And look at the designs, too. They're the exact... Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter.